My name is Pam Malley, and I'm a speech pathologist on the Education Advisory Board for the Tourette Association of America. I'm here with Kathy Giordano, our education specialist, to discuss the topic of disinhibition. Kathy, can you tell us about what disinhibition is and how does that relate to Tourette?
Disinhibition is faulty mental breaks. Sometimes the breaks work, sometimes the breaks don't work, but it's something that the child doesn't want to do, knows that they shouldn't be doing it, but isn't able to inhibit it. It's an inconsistent ability to inhibit behaviors that the child knows they aren't supposed to do. Many times it's confused with impulsivity, which also can be part of Tourette because it's part of attention deficit. But the difference between impulsivity and disinhibition is really critically important because impulsivity is doing something without thinking. Disinhibition is thinking about it, knowing you don't want to do it, and having to do it anyways. It's similar to a tic in that they have to do it. Sometimes they can learn strategies on how to manage the disinhibition, which is important, but in school and at home, it's important that everybody recognize disinhibition. Because if a child comes home from school and is exhausted and has a total meltdown, it's not that they want to be bad, it's that they can't inhibit all this stress and anxiety that's been happening all day long. And oftentimes they can't inhibit what they're saying. So people understand the swearing part of Tourette, but sometimes disinhibition will also sound like that because a kid may be thinking something. We all think things, but we are able to inhibit it. A child with Tourette oftentimes is not able to inhibit it and will say it and then get in trouble.
You mentioned that there's similarity between tics and disinhibition. How can parents distinguish the difference between the two?
Typically, disinhibition is a behavior that everybody knows is wrong. And typically the child is going to apologize afterwards. With a tic, they may not apologize, but with disinhibition, they know it's wrong, they don't want to do it, and they're usually very remorseful afterwards.
The way we manage behavior oftentimes in school, where we say, no, don't do that, can that have an effect on disinhibition?
Actually, Tourette can be suggestible. I had one teacher that told me that she had this figured out because there was a child that had to touch the fire alarm every time they were out in the hallway. And she said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remind the child next time we're in the hallway, don't touch the fire alarm. Well, now she has put the thought in his head, and so now he's going to have a more difficult time inhibiting it and not doing it. What they may want to do instead is find a different route to get from point A to point B and possibly not touch any fire alarms.
So it sounds like the traditional ways that we manage behavior at school, like saying don't do that, can have a negative impact on disinhibition. Tell us some better ways that we might be able to manage this symptom.
Yeah, there are lots of strategies. It's hard to generalize them, but what you want to do is to have the child work with a therapist that understands disinhibition and come up with strategies. So if you're feeling like you need to do this, what can you do instead? Our society tends to tell children not to do things rather than teaching them what they can do instead. If a child that has difficulty with disinhibition uses these strategies and uses the strategies a lot and even can be prompted in the middle of it, not before because then it's going to be suggestible, then they can naturally get there so that they can use these strategies by themselves.
Great. What kinds of professionals would you seek to help with symptoms of disinhibition?
Counselors, therapists, school counselors, school psychologists, social workers, speech pathologists. I think the key point is not necessarily the profession. I think the key point is understanding Tourette and understanding disinhibition. Because even some professionals will say, well, I know you're a smart kid and I know you're doing it on purpose. So you need to stop doing that. And then we bring in either rewards or consequences, and we know that most times rewards and consequences don't help with a neurological urge.
Thank you for joining us. If you need more information on this topic, please visit Tourette.org.